Taking a look now at the auction market this week, and there are 997 auctions in New South Wales, with 888 of those in Sydney. Victoria will have over 1,200 auctions, with 1,182 in Melbourne. Queensland will have 294 auctions, with 172 in Brisbane. South Australia is set to have 168 auctions. WA will hold 18 auctions. Tasmania will have 2 auctions, and the ACT will hold 75 auctions. Let's take a look at the most viewed auctions of the week. And over in New South Wales, you've got 39A Stanhope Road, Killara. It's a huge 6-bedroom, 8-bathroom house on almost 1,400 square metres. It's got 2 wings, a swimming pool, a cabana, and with space and privacy, you can see there. In Victoria, 31 Burnett Street in Mitcham. It's a 4-bedroom house on almost 1,000 squares with beautiful gardens in a peaceful setting. The price guide for this one is $1.15 to $1.25 million. Over in East Brisbane, we have 4 Didsbury Street. It's a Federation home which has been restored, also has DA-approved plans for further extensions. It's got a swimming pool, large grassed area and ample space. Over in South Australia at 1041 Lockside Drive, West Lakes, there's a lakefront townhouse with 3 bedrooms on just over 100 squares, a price guide of $699,000. And finally, at 20 McHugh Street, Everett in the ACT, it's a 4-bedroom house on 800 squares. Bit of a unique one, this one, with a kid's dreamland in the backyard, a cubby, a giant slide into a sandpit and a swimming pool. Inside it has 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and it will go to auction tomorrow. The top listing of the week, though, is on the central coast of New South Wales at 22A Girder Road, McMaster's Beach. It's best described as a glass treehouse, architecturally designed to blend into its surrounds. It has 4 double bedrooms, expansive open plan living spaces, a large dining space, as well as an outdoor deck for entertaining. On top of the floor-to-ceiling glass walls with views of ocean and bushland, it's just a short 270-metre stroll to the beach. It sits on 1,100 squares, and expressions of interest for this one close on October 14. Well, for more on the property market, I spoke with Eleanor Creagh, Senior Economist at REA.
Yeah, so we're continuing to see an uplift in auction activity. So we've got close to 3,000 homes heading to auction this weekend. That's around a 15% uplift compared to this same period last year. So we know that that national home price upturn is still in play. Prices cycling through 20 consecutive months of positive home price growth. And we're seeing that is incentivising both buyer and seller confidence. Market conditions remain pretty robust heading into the spring selling season. That's incentivising, obviously, vendors to bring their property to auction.
Yeah, so we're going to continue to see then during this spring season listings rise, do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we know that spring is typically the busiest time of year for property. It's when buyers are most active, reawakening after that winter quieter period. Sellers as well typically prefer to list their homes for sale in spring. And we're already seeing that we've got an uplift in new properties hitting the market. So Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, all 3 of those capital cities had the most new listings in August in over a decade, actually. So we're really continuing to see that uplift in properties hitting the market. It's certainly going to be a good spring selling season for buyers, lots more choice.
So in terms of the parts of Australia that are outperforming the most, are they the cities doing the best?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting when we look at the dynamics between supply and demand, and we can really see that some of those supply drivers are really feeding into that varied performance that we've got across the country in terms of home price growth. So we know that Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane for quite some time now, the past 2 years really, have consistently outperformed, with Perth prices up now more than 20% in the past year. Whereas we've got, at the other end of the spectrum, weaker price performance in Melbourne and Hobart. And if we break down those capital city regions, we can really see that supply on market is incredibly constrained. In Perth in particular, with most of the smaller regions of Perth seeing total listings or total stock on market around 50% below the prior 5-year average. So clearly strong demand absorbing the flow of new listings hitting the market in Perth and contributing to a stronger pace of price growth and strong selling conditions.
How price sensitive are consumers in the real estate market to what's going on with the RBA? I mean, we know obviously rate cuts will make a big difference, but just the chatter or, I guess, you're seeing the US potentially cut rates next week. That could flow through to the RBA eventually, and we might start talking about rate cuts. Will that have an impact on consumers, just the talk of rate cuts?
Look, I think it will. Now, we know that expectations for the Reserve Bank have really been on a roller coaster ride over the past few months. And certainly, if we look at the first quarter of this year, I think those earlier expectations of interest rate cuts were buoying activity in the housing market. So if we start to approach that period where we've got more talk of rate cuts being a certainty in the first quarter of next year, that is likely to boost buyer sentiment throughout the spring selling season.
Just to end off, can I ask you about rental prices and the rental market? Because I know you've had a recent report out. We're starting to see rents stabilise.
Yeah, so some glimmers of hope for renters. Certainly conditions are still incredibly challenging. We've seen rents increasing more than 40% since the onset of the pandemic in pretty much every capital city market. So affordability has deteriorated significantly for renters, but we're approaching a point where we've got maybe some early signs of stabilisation in the rental market at the moment. So nationally, rental price growth has been flat for 2 straight months. That's the same in the capital cities as well. So every capital city recording flat rental price growth over the past 2 months. And encouragingly, we are seeing that vacancies have eased as well. So over the past year, pretty much every capital city market, with the exception of Hobart and Darwin, seeing an easing in rental vacancies.
Okay, Eleanor, appreciate your time on the program today. Thanks for that.
Thanks for having me.